In Indonesia, the first case of COVID-19 is reported on March 2, 2020. After WHO declaring COVID-19 a pandemic, as the activities such as working and studying are done in home. To respond to this pandemic, UNICEF has been leading efforts with the government, the WHO, and other partners.
Coronavirus is named based on the crown, like structure on its surface. Corona in Latin means hello or crown. Coronaviruses are a large family of viruses which may cause illness in animals or humans.
A human Shafira coronavirus are known to cause respiratory infection, ranging from the common cold to one. Shafira, gaseous, short, and midly, its respiratory syndrome, MERS, and severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS.
The most recently discovered coronavirus causes coronavirus disease COVID-19. The most common symptoms of COVID-19 are fever, tiredness, and dry cough. Some patients may have aches and pains, nasal congestion, runny nose, sore throat, or diarrhea.
These symptoms are usually mild and weaken gradually. Some people become infected but don't develop any symptoms and don't feel very well. Most people recover from the disease without needing special treatment.
Around 1 out of every 6 people who gets COVID-19 becomes seriously ill and develops difficulty breathing. Older people and those with underlying medical problems like high blood pressure, heart problems, or diabetes.
Are more likely to develop serious illness. About 2% of people with the disease have died. People with fever, cough, and difficulty breathing should seek medical attention. People can be infected with COVID-19 from others who have the virus.
The disease can spread from person to person which can spread when a person with COVID-19
These droplets lands on objects and surfaces around the person. Other people then catch COVID-19 by touching this object or surfaces, then touching their eyes, nose, or mouth.
People can also catch COVID-19 when they breathe in droplets from a person with COVID-19 touch other or access droplets. This is important to stay more than 1 meter or 3 feet away from a person who is sick.
For almost a decade, scientists chased the source of a deadly new virus through China's tallest mountains and most isolated caverns. They finally found it here, in the bats of Shitao Cave. The virus in question was a coronavirus that caused an epidemic of severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS, in 2003. Coronaviruses are a group of viruses covered in little protein spikes that look like a crown, or corona in Latin. There are hundreds of known coronaviruses. 7 of them infect humans and can cause disease. The coronavirus SARS-CoV causes SARS, MERS-CoV causes MERS, and SARS-CoV-2 causes the disease COVID-19. Of the 7 human coronaviruses, 4 cause colds, mild, highly contagious infections of the nose and throat. 2 infect the lungs and cause much more severe illnesses. The 7th, which causes COVID-19, has features of each. It spreads easily, but can severely impact the lungs. When an infected person coughs, droplets containing the virus spray out. The virus can infect a new person when the droplets enter their nose or mouth. Coronaviruses transmit best in enclosed spaces where people are close together. Cold weather keeps their delicate casing from drying out, enabling the virus to survive for longer between hosts, while UV exposure from sunlight may damage it. These seasonal variations matter more for established viruses, but because no one is yet immune to a new virus, it has so many potential hosts that it doesn't need ideal conditions to spread. In the body, the protein spikes embed in the host cells and fuse with them, enabling the virus to hijack the host cell's machinery to replicate its own genes. Coronaviruses store their genes on RNA. All viruses are either RNA viruses or DNA viruses. RNA viruses tend to be smaller, with fewer genes, meaning they infect many hosts and replicate quickly in those hosts. In general, RNA viruses don't have a proofreading mechanism, whereas DNA viruses do. So when an RNA virus replicates, it's much more likely to have mistakes, called mutations. Many of these mutations are useless or even harmful, but some make the virus better suited for certain environments, like a new host species. Epidemics often occur when a virus jumps from animals to humans. This is true of the RNA viruses that cause the Ebola, Zika, and SARS epidemics, and the COVID-19 pandemic. Once in humans, the virus still mutates, usually not enough to create a new virus, but enough to create variations or strains of the original one. Coronaviruses have a few key differences from most RNA viruses. They're some of the largest, meaning they have the most genes. That creates more opportunity for harmful mutations. To counteract this risk, coronaviruses have a unique feature, an enzyme that checks for replication errors and corrects mistakes. This makes coronaviruses much more stable, with a slower mutation rate than other RNA viruses. While this may sound formidable, the slow mutation rate is actually a promising sign when it comes to disarming them. After an infection, our immune systems can recognize germs and destroy them more quickly if they infect us again, so they don't make us sick. But mutations can make a virus less recognizable to our immune systems and therefore more difficult to fight off. They can also make antiviral drugs and vaccines less effective because they're tailored very specifically to a virus. That's why we need a new flu vaccine every year. The influenza virus mutates so quickly that new strains pop up constantly. The slower mutation rate of coronaviruses means our immune systems, drugs, and vaccines might be able to recognize them for longer after infection, and therefore protect us better. Still, we don't know how long our bodies remain immune to different coronaviruses. There's never been an approved treatment or vaccine for a coronavirus. We haven't focused on treating the ones that cause colds, and though scientists began developing treatments for SARS and MERS, the epidemics ended before those treatments completed clinical trials. As we continue to encroach on other animals' habitats, some scientists say a new coronavirus jumping to humans is inevitable. But if we investigate these unknowns, it doesn't have to be devastating.
Okay, let's close this discussion by praying together to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala so that the corona is quickly destroyed. يا ذا الجلال والإكرام اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد في الأولين والآخرين وبارك وسلم ورضي الله تعالى عن كل صحابة رسول الله أجمعين آمين 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 الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا شاكرين حمدا نعيمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافي مزيدا يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك الكريم وعظيم سلطانك اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد صلاة تنجينا بها من جميع الأهوال والآفات وتقتنا لنا بها جميع الحاجات وتطهرنا بها من جميع السيئات وترفعنا بها عندك على الدرجات وتبلغنا بأقصى الغايات من جميع الخيرات في الحياة وبعد الممات إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم ادفعنا الغلا والبلاء والوباء والفحش والمنكر والبغي والسوء المختلفة والشدائد والميان ما ظهر منا وما بطن من بلدنا هذا خاصة ومن بلدان المسلمين عامة إنك على كل شيء قدير. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب النار بفضلك وكرمك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Okay, thanks for your attention. Sensitive to the important things that will make use the emphasis. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
You